Welcome to a Magical Homemaking Tarot lesson on the Hierophant and themes for 2021. Let's begin with a quote. Do not believe in anything simply because you have heard it. Do not believe in anything simply because it is spoken and rumored by many. Do not believe in anything simply because it is found written in your religious books. Do not believe in anything merely on the authority of your teachers and elders. Do not believe in traditions because they have been handed down for many generations. But after observation and analysis, when you find that anything agrees with reason and is conducive to the good and benefit of one and all, then accept it and live up to it. My goals for you and hopes for you in this quick lesson are that you would understand some of the symbols depicted in the Hierophant card, specifically in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. I want you to see multiple variations on Hierophant cards so that you can start to glimpse different visual textures and layers of meaning. I want to anchor you in some key concepts around the Hierophant, things that you can remember and make connections to inside your own mind. You can then attach your stories and layers of meaning to this framework. And then I also want to give you some ways to embody or utilize Hierophant energy in your magic, in your life, in your experimentations with learning energy. All right. I welcome you to create a sacred space simply by using your breath to anchor in. So let's do that now. Take a deep breath. Feel your belly drop. Allow your shoulders to drop. And as you exhale, letting go of any tension or frenetic energy, connecting to and feeling nourished by the earth below you. On a big inhale, drawing up the nourishing and supporting energy of the earth up into your system, through your lungs, in your veins, and arrive in a space that is more present, a little more magical. Welcome. Quickly to call in the elements, I like this practice, especially before diving into a tarot card, because I'm activating your prior knowledge. I'm activating these sensations and this way of knowing within you. So we do this now, we'll do it quickly. We're going to call upon the north and the element of earth. This is your bones. This is heavy, dense material things. We call in books and temples for the Hierophant here. Turn to the east and call in air, thoughts, intelligence, new beginnings, morning. For the Hierophant, we call in teachings and truth. In the south, we call on fire, our energy, our enthusiasm, motivation, the passion for learning the Hierophant brings here, the enthusiasm for new ideas. Meaning to the west, we call on water, our emotions, our ability to connect with one another, and also the sense of mystery and our intuitive senses that the Hierophant brings to this card. To call upon the above, the yang energy, the expansive, the masculine, the outward-facing parts of our universe, the spinning cosmos. And then turn inward and feeling the connection to the earth below, that pull of gravity, the density of matter, all things buried and hidden below, the nourishing, supporting energy of the earth. And finally, arrive here and now in your body, your breath, your heart, and experience how it is both uniquely yours and also part of the big collective. And send a little whisper, a little chime of gratitude and thanks and appreciation to the web of all life. For the Hierophant, you can call on the expansive consciousness of Yang, the nature of teacher as teacher in Yin, and then in the center and the within, the quest to find oneself. A deep dive now into the look at the symbols within the Hierophant. So first of all, I want to bring in some language here. Hierophant comes from Greek, meaning holy or to show the holy. The idea that the Hierophant was a sacred being who could translate or take the mysterious and spiritual and bring it to the people in a way that was understandable. Translating this kind of like ethereal consciousness and spirit realm into something that is more concrete and learnable, a curriculum even. And the Hierophant would have been an interpreter of sacred mysteries and arcane principles. They would have been a bridge between the humans and the gods. And here we see a very classic papal image in some ways. I bring up the staff, and this is referencing the Pope, and the three different lines here would have been Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Raised Catholic, don't always remember all the Catholic. Essentially, though, being connected to the different levels of consciousness as well. Maybe we can even see a ladder here in terms of, again, that bridge towards heaven and earth. The pillars remind us of the high priestess and alluding to those mysteries. Except for here, instead of a wispy curtain separating you from the mysteries, there is a person who's very much in a state of authority, someone who has teachings and learnings. So we engage the archetype of the teacher and the student. How are you a teacher? What lessons are you being taught right now in your life? How are you a student? Noticing, though, that these pillars are also very dense. There's a lot of structure here. So this can lean towards dogma and maybe the rules of religion and laws that can be constrictive. The color of gray, however, does allude to the idea of bringing in white and black, yin and yang, the opposites into union, into a place of wisdom and equanimity in its highest state. The mudra, or the fingers pointing to the sky, this is an act of blessing, and that would have been expected or appreciated by the pupils. This idea of allowing for or saying that they are worthy of spiritual connection. To me, it's maybe a little bit of a sign of being a gatekeeper, which part of the Hierophant quest is about finding your own inner voice and your own connection to spirit and not being reliant on an external authority to connect you with that. So the keys here, again, alluding to this idea as is this authority person the gatekeeper to knowledge? And so, what are the keys to your spiritual connection, mystery, and divinity? Is it through and for a curriculum, a teacher? That's not always a bad thing. Is it a way that feels stuck and old and stagnant? Are you being called to notice that and quest for a different kind of teacher? I love the staff here. I brought it as a reference to the Pope, but I also think it's addressing the archetype of bridge between earth and sky. So if you've ever held a staff, you connect it to the earth and it feels like a lightning bolt that can conduct energy from sky to earth. And so there is something here about being connected to both realms. I like, and I don't know if a lot of people talk about this, but the red, anytime red shows up in the tarot, I feel like it's a very active energy. There's movement and energizing energy here. And so the red here to me says that connecting with spirit is an active process. It is not a passive process. The high priestess is very passive, very blue. This color recedes. And it's a different way of surrendering and connecting to the mystery, much more lunar, versus this much more yang type energy of having a study, a path toward mystery and divine. Also wanting to call in here the archetype of the student, right? So here down at the bottom, we have two students. And here, this is a lot about the questioning your purpose, how to be of service, this idea of following your passions or your values, and committing to what you believe in. Sometimes it's very helpful to have a religious doctrine or curriculum to follow in order to deepen those techniques and strategies and tools. Can be very helpful in terms of connecting you with spirit and divinity. Next, I'm going to show you a variety of different cards from different decks. So starting with the Smith Rider-Waite deck, this is the one that we were looking before. This is the Thoth Tarot, which was written by Aleister Crowley, and sadly, I do not know the name of the illustrator. I will know. They're kind of OG tarot decks coming out of like 1800s, early 1900s, and the mystics. In the Gaian Tarot here, this comes from Joanna Powell Colbert out of the Northwest, and I really resonate, for me personally, with this image of the teacher, the mentor, sitting underneath the tree. Is this coyote back here as an ally? Dandelion he's holding. This idea that your plants could be teachers. It's a real invitation for me to get outside the box of what I think a traditional teacher might mean. And how can a tree be your teacher? How can coyote be your teacher? This is the Vision Quest Tarot. I also enjoy the connection here to the shaman. And instead of seeing this authority figure as a gatekeeper, but rather as a threshold walker, someone who has been both in other realms and brings guidance and service to all realms. That's a concept that I am excited and lit up about. The Wild Unknown, interesting here, bringing in the crow and this very Gothic key. And it's interesting that to me it brings up, and the lightning bolt here, like referring to the Tower card. So this card for me brings with it the harbinger of death, which is really, in a way, what the Hierophant does on the hero's journey. Is that the Hierophant is like the old wise individual who brings some kind of insight or information to the young hero that eventually is going to wake them up to their purpose, to their quest. So it is this moment where really the hero is confronting unusual information, questions, wonderings, things that will start to niggle at them until finally in the chariot they leap towards their quest. So I like the introduction here of death elements. From the Modern Witch Tarot, I appreciate bringing in different, like regendering and bringing in more modern or contemporary looking individuals. I'm thinking about the haircuts and slightly different hair colors and skin tones. I love there's tattoos in here as well. I also think that this is like a goddess revival energy in the Modern Witch Tarot, that this is some ragtag team of witchy folks who are creating sacred spaces together. Love it. The Modern Witch. This is the Light Seers Tarot. Here we notice the symbol of the staff on his t-shirt and the steps leading up to some ethereal and spiritual realm, literally the bridge between the heavens and earth. The Herb Crafter's Tarot brings in cacao, and forgive me, I don't know as much about the herb as I would like to, but I do know that cacao is often used in ceremony around building connection. And I wonder if that connection is with the divine as well as with other people. Please tell me your thoughts here. In the Herbal Tarot, we have the High Priest, and this is sage, which, we think of sage as being another word for wise. And we have the Pillars again. This is a much more blue, more, a less yang type energy here. But I see how we might approach this individual with our questions and our wonderings. For me, looking at a variety of different cards from a different decks allows my mind to create layers of meaning and to build up that library of stories that I can call upon to convey what I need to say in a reading. So looking at the Hierophant in the journey of the hero, it's number 5. And I talked about the pillars, right? But the 5 is also about power that goes beyond just the 4 elements. You know, we called upon north, east, south, and west, earth, air, fire, and water. And then 5 alludes to this consciousness part of our existence. We're not just physical beings. We have thoughts and feelings. The pillars bring up the High Priestess. It's the first card in the hero's journey where there is more than one person. So there's really this experience of otherness, maybe for the first time. Keys to the mysteries. There's this moving toward consciousness. Really, like after the Chariot, the hero's going to jump into a whole new realm of crazy encounters. And yeah, they will awaken on a whole new level. But the Hierophant really is like the first little nudge in the direction of developing consciousness. We have devotion to the mystery. So if you think about the students who are kneeling down below and their devotion, this idea of what are you devoted to? What teachings, what values, what beliefs are you devoted to? What mysteries are you? Here we see also, so the Emperor before brought this energy of like building up structures and systems and routines. And the Hierophant is really about creating communal experiences within that structure. And then also kind of like what dogma, doctrine, rules, and laws are needed to have community within those spaces. And in times when we want to be questioning and radical, this would be a time when we want to be questioning those laws and dogmas and doctrines. If you are someone who is building up sacred spaces, then this is also a time of learning new and different and alternative ways of creating guidelines and a sense of structure within your community so that you can create these sacred spaces. And then we talked about the teacher-student relationship and this invitation to study, learn, and experience. And then notice that after the Hierophant comes the Lovers. So there's something about this experience with the outside, with the other, that now there is this yearning, this desire for something beyond yourself, which eventually will push you into the Chariot and into your quest. I always love looking at the major arcana going up and down. We look at here the 3 phases of the hero of the journey, 1 through 7, 8 through 14, and 15 through 21. And the Hierophant is above the Hanged Man, which is above the Sun. And notice here too how the Sun becomes very similar to the circle around the Hanged Man's head. And now we've taken a very small glimmer or glow of light, and now it's exploded into this bright, radiant sun. So the Hierophant really is the key to this alternative perspective, to this fresh new take on life that is eventually going to provide the insight, the knowledge, the passion that is going to become this bright, sustaining, and nourishing sun card energy that will come back to when the hero returns to the village, returns to their normal life. They will take this passion, this drive, this insight lesson back with them. And all of that begins, right, with the energy of the Hierophant of experiencing and learning something about those mysteries, something about that it's not just about north, east, south, and west, earth, air, fire, and water, that there is consciousness. All right, so a few more little sacred lessons here. The invitation to think of nature as teacher, the idea that a cedar tree could be a wise one, or my kids and I have been going to pond school, so like the idea that pond can be our teacher. The idea of inner awakening. Really, essentially, we're talking about bringing in consciousness and meta experiences. So this is a very reflective practice. This is very like connecting and listening to the subtle niggles and nudges from your inner voice. And yeah. So, and then I like this one. Who do you look up to? I think this came from Lindsay Mack of Tarot for the Wild Soul. Great podcast. Highly recommend. And the idea of, the students who are down below and looking up at the Hierophant, but this energy of who are your expanders? Who are your dream things? Who are you jealous of? Who is going to expand you and your consciousness? Yeah. Who do you admire? And let those like edges of even jealousy to lure you into the lessons there. What are you really craving? What do you want to learn? What do they have that you don't have? And that gets stronger in the lovers. And then sacred in the manifest. This is the idea that the mundane is sacred. And so the Hierophant will point to, well, I like thinking about the guy in tarot and the dandelion. And the dandelion is such a sacred, sweet teacher. And the soil, the earth, the moment in front of you, celebrating the seasons, all of that being a great teacher. When the Hierophant shows up, you've asked a question about your profession. Maybe there's an invitation here to think about purpose and that sense of like really fulfilling work. And then also maybe it's an invitation to lean into Hierophant-like tasks. So if there's an opportunity at work to do some research, that would be a very Hierophant type thing to do. Yeah. And then if you pulled the card related to romance, maybe this is about growing trust or really bringing your moral values into your relationship. Maybe it's been really kind of more light, and now you really want to talk about beliefs and what you each value, and how that could become a determining factor in your relationship. And then it might also be kind of coming to know a deeper sense of like love and partnership as teacher, which the idea of knowing and getting to familiarizing yourself with the energy of another, of a different person, can be a wise experience, a wisdom building experience. All right, so when the Hierophant shows up reversed, this is really where we see that those shadow sides of dogma and doctrine and law and rule becoming constrictive. And so there's a need for questioning, reflecting. There's shedding light on structures that are no longer helpful. This is a time of unpacking your beliefs, or time of doubt, especially around your teachers or the things that you have been taught. If it shows up reverse, then maybe you're also here to shake things up a little bit and question those societal norms and laws and teachings and doctrines. I like this, bringing in here this idea of empty rituals, where the idea is we do things, we do the smells and bells and the rituals, ceremonial tasks, but they're not imbued with our mindfulness, that they've maybe become stale. And so we do them rotely, but we're not bringing our whole spirit into the process. And then, the Hierophant can get a little comfortable on that throne, and sometimes gets a little stuck in his beliefs, doesn't really, gets so caught up in teaching what he knows to others that he's not being a student himself. And so he's not growing and turning stagnant, basically. And then I also like the idea of when you turn a card upside down, now it's facing the card that came before it, the 4, which is the Emperor. And so it's an examining of your structures, looking at what your foundation is and what you're building your beliefs on. Some embodiment practices here. You would call on the Hierophant, maybe bring it to your altar, or if you're in a moment and you just want to call on some Hierophant energy to kind of help you get through a tough spot. Maybe if you're a teacher or you're a learner, or you're building a meditation practice or learning the foundations of ritual, you could call in some Hierophant energy to really like, infuse you with that enthusiasm for learning and such. But also, what a great way to experience the energy of the card. So embarking on some studies, going to church and having a spiritual authority figure with you, going to a yoga class where you have a spiritual teacher. You could meditate with this mudra and see what energy kind of comes through. And then also I recommend conducting a ceremony or doing a ritual to call in that experience of creating structure along with your spiritual beliefs. Oh, I love bringing tarot cards to my altar, especially when I'm calling in or manifesting different things. So if I were becoming a teacher, which is something that I'm doing right now, building up my reputation as a teacher. Yeah, see? And notice I start here with the Hierophant card. Coincidence? Maybe. If you're trying to get into university, if you are manifesting a teacher in your life, like you are trying to find someone to help you with your shamanic practices, then you might pull out the Hierophant, especially if you had the Vision Quest Tarot and it was literally shaman. Then if you wanted to, I said school acceptance, like if you want to get accepted to a certain school or other kind of learning institution, if you are embarking on a spiritual study of something, like Buddhism or Feng Shui or magical homemaking, tarot, whatever, you could bring in the Hierophant to your altar to support you in that practice and maybe your dedication to it and remind you a little bit of your why. And yeah, also if you are interested in reprogramming your beliefs, changing the narratives in your mind, you can bring in the Hierophant as well. The idea of like, this is the archetype of creating beliefs and those neurological pathways in your brain. So doing that work. All right, where are we now? Oh, we're at the end. Thank you so much. You hung out here and learned all the amazing things. I'm so excited to hear what your feelings of the Hierophant are, because I'm giving you some things that you can weave into your meaning around the Hierophant card. But essentially, it is your relationship with the deck that you are using and whatever spirit or inner voice you're communicating with. Because essentially you're trying to find, it's like playing charades with spirit. You're trying to find the right question, and spirit's trying to find the right images so that you can communicate and receive the kind of guidance and advice that you're looking for. So yes, it's helpful to have all of this information in your mind, because there are now just all these more activation buttons and connections that spirit can access when doing tarot. But ultimately, you want to be noticing what's coming up for you. So you're inevitably going to think, I need to look it up in a little white book, or I need to go back to that video and see what Aaron said about the meaning of the Hierophant. But just pause and look at the card and notice what you're noticing. Notice what stories are coming up in your mind. And there is no rushing on this. Allowing those stories to come up. And yes, always go and look up more information. That's a huge part of my practice too. Just making sure that you leave enough time to just allow your inner knowing to come forward. All right. Sending you all the happy tarot vibes. Ciao. Till next time.